being that it is the gift of singleness and it should be for the benefit of others, how does that play into ministry, responsibilities, duties of a single person that is in the church? Would you feel that there are certain responsibilities that maybe are pushed off on singles that maybe you don't want to have, or maybe they're neglected by the singles themselves? Like, do you think that singles have done a good enough job in the church at really working out what their responsibilities and duties are to the body?
It's so in that question, we've all had a different experience of the church. So when we say, has the church done a good job?
Right.
Like,
so this is always,
church,
your experience,
yeah.
may, and
So,
even I guess someone else's too. But
I can give some examples of young men who have gone hard for God in singleness, and young men who are kind of like lagging.
Okay.
And they're in their early 20s.
Right. Right.
And so, like, I think one of the guys I live with, Randy, is one of the most selfless servants of the Lord I know.
Yeah.
No doubt. In the church, in his own family, within the brothers he lives with, in a outreach, a youth intervention center, like where there's a need, he's like wired to serve, and like so I think he's stewarding what he has for God, and he'll be rewarded for that.
Right.
I also can think of sometimes young men, like, might be in college, and it takes them like a year or two into college to like reach college maturity. It's just sometimes men seem to lag behind in maturity sometimes.
Yeah.
Taking responsibility for things that really matter. And so sometimes you might end up with men that are in their early mid-20s that are maybe even single, partly because of not being responsible or taking initiative.
Yeah.
So
what's going on?
Sorry, I'm just looking at you.
No, it's true though. Like, something the three of us talked about, like, that I want to use my words very carefully here because I don't want to tear down my brothers in Christ, but I've seen this in multiple churches over multiple settings. There can be what I'm specifically talking about in a group of singles, right? So I think what you're talking about is like more church-wide, but I think there have been times where there's been a need for leadership, and there needs to be a single man who steps up, and no one steps up. Right. And it's extremely frustrating as a single woman trying to honor the structure that God has put in place, but at this and how he desires his church to be, but when there aren't no young man is stepping up to take that place, right, to show leadership, to show that I'm not. They're wonderful guys out there, and I'm not trying to say that's every guy and every situation is different, but that is a pattern I've seen. And even when I texted my girlfriends about like, hey, I'm doing this, like, what, that was consistently something that was brought up, of frustration, of feeling like young men not stepping into leadership roles that there's a desire and a wish that they would do.
Yeah. And you know what, this isn't even like, I didn't even send you guys this topic right here, but there is something I want to like talk about real quick. Because I was sitting here thinking like, all right, man, I asked this question a lot because when I was a single Christian man, there was something that always bugged me. So sitting here kind of reminded me of something as we're talking about this. Do you guys feel like, how to word this the right way, because I don't want to throw my single brothers and sisters out there under the bus. Do you feel like, let me ask it like this way it's a little bit more neutral. Do you feel like there's a surplus or a lack of like serious Christian singles out there? Like, do you feel like there's a lot of fish in the sea that are actually edible, if you get what I'm saying?
I think that can depend. That can depend
Bro,
on your.
Because they always,
bro.
well, you know what I mean is because they always say there's more fish in the sea,
I know
correct?
you, but you
That
just
you-
added
fish
an
that you
edible in there.
fish that
It's
you
like,
wouldn't
what?
throw
Because there's
back.
always, there's
No, I
always
feel it.
fish.
Yeah,
Of
thank
course,
you.
there's
Thank you
I
for the
feel it.
yeah, because
clarification.
there's always
feel you.
fish in the sea, obviously. But I mean,
No, that I
how many of them are desirable?
I think that depends on your situation. So like I was in a Christian college that was like Bible college culture, and it wasn't uncommon meeting single people that are serious about the Lord.
Okay.
And so that was different, even just
In a Christian college area, right?
yeah.
Okay, and maybe I didn't
And so-
experience that.
Yeah, so that, and from church to church it might be different. Sometimes I see some at the end of like those are the people that like you wonder why someone didn't marry them yet. Like they are walking with
Yeah.
they're very mature. And then there's people that are
that you don't wonder
that are
about.
dragging their feet in stepping up in life maturity and in their walk with God. And then there's people in the middle.
for sure, yeah.
I think it can, if I go broader than just my churches, it can be the case that I think like most of evangelical church in America are women. It's like more than 50%. It's a tilt, and sometimes it can seem like not enough men are stepping up. I do think there's a difference when I guess just with men stepping. This is not just singles, but with men actually stepping up. When a church is calling men up to that and disciple with that in mind and preach the word of God on those things, over time I've seen men take initiative and responsibility and leadership. So I think where that's happening, then you can have more good fish or whatever.
Yeah. That's good.
You guys are gonna run on that one for a while.
I think it.
You know daggone well what I meant.
I think it does just limit how you are going to. I'm going to speak from a specifically female perspective. When you are told the man, you need to respect him, you respect his leadership. You're friends with a guy who you maybe enjoy being friends with him, but you don't respect his faith. That's right there. That's going to put a hard stop. And that doesn't mean that you see him only in that moment forever, because everyone's growing, right?
Right.
And that's I wouldn't want to be judged in that moment forever, but I'm just saying, like, I can enjoy being your friend. I can learn from you. We can grow in friendship, but if I don't see you in your walk with God and have respect for that, then that's just going to put a hard stop to any, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what? Again, I was not in the college setting. I was not around that right there. I was single Christian dad that, obviously I was in different environments. So I guess my experience was a little bit different.
But so I could say I've had conversations with a friend, a brother who's single. At times we wish people in our like immediate circle, there were more single women that were very sold out for the Lord rather than kind of playing in the middle.
Yeah.
But
Because I did kind of hit that area like that right there. And like I noticed that girls in the Christian colleges, they did not want anything to do with somebody who had a kid already. They were like looking for that guy that obviously hadn't had that experience in that area, didn't have that baggage either, and was like, I want the, be married, us have kids together and deal with, that's, it makes sense too, though. It would make sense.
I'm going to give a critique, though, to women on that, because I feel like women, it is so emphasized to us to keep your purity, save yourself for one person. They've got to be the leader. They've got to do this. I feel like there's a way in which girls, in thinking they're doing it biblically, have created a man that doesn't exist, that they're waiting for.
I got a story about that.
And I think it's more common than not. And I feel like there's a way in which girls need to be taught that, like, there's a difference between not having standards and having unrealistic expectations. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can have biblically sound things that like you should have respect for this person.
Right.
But there also needs to, I think, be understanding that I heard a Christian mom say this once, and she said she had a daughter and a son. She went to a conference the church had for her daughter, and she came back thinking, my son wouldn't meet any of those standards. There are no girls that are going to be able to marry my son. She's like, my son's a good kid. But if that's what our daughters are being taught that like they need to look for, like that's impossible.
I heard someone, I'm a paraphrase it, I don't remember exactly, say like, if you're looking for someone who's like John Piper, well, John Piper at 25 wasn't John Piper at 65.
Right.
There was growth.
Right.
And so I would encourage people to look for the pattern. Is the pattern of the person's heart sold out for God? Are they growing? Are they willing to make themselves accountable? Do they own things? You know, is where they're at now different from where they're at a year ago?
Yeah.
And if someone has a humble heart towards God and fears God, and there's things that aren't all right yet, that's a different situation than if someone is just 50-50 on stuff.
Yeah. And I won't share the story in detail, but there were I was pastoring a group of young adults in the season of me and Lynette's life, and the girls just had these high standards, and I said, you're going to be single for the rest of your life.
There's a lot
Give
of
me
girls.
a break, you know. We went away Friday and Saturday. We went away and to a beach to marry a couple actually, and I sat down with them and I broke it down to them like, you're going to be single for the rest of your life because your standards are unrealistic. You're looking for this, you know, you're looking for the incarnate Christ again.
Yes.
You know, like he already came. Like,
and way too many guys are looking for the Proverbs 31.
Yo.
And it's like, yo, you do understand she
It's
was
not
married,
gonna-
right?
it's-
Proverbs 31 woman was
Right.
married. Like,
it's not going to
she
happen.
might not have been that way when she
Right.
was single.
It's not going to happen. And my thing to them was, look for the things that are necessary, the things that are supposed to be there. You know what I mean? Like a genuineness towards Christ, a genuineness towards God's people, to his word, devoted to Christ. And that might come with some rough edges. And, you know, so that could happen. And I've seen it happen. And actually, there's a couple now married after having that speech, and they're working it out. You know, they love the Lord. They have 2 beautiful children, and you know, the marriage is exemplifying Christ in the church, man. It's not perfect. None of us are. They had their issues and things like that, but man, it's God glorifying, and it's working out.